Her lashes twitched against my jeans as she slept, lips slightly parted, the quietest breath rising from her chest. The end credits rolled over some forgettable comedy, but I didn't hear the music anymore. I was stuck on that one line, "He's asleep, I miss you." It glowed from the top of her phone, white text in a gray bubble. The name was just initials. I didn't recognize them, but I didn't need to. The preview was enough, not vague, not friendly, not professional, intimate, casual, routine. It hadn't been meant for me, and yet there it was, as if the truth finally ran out of places to hide. I stood still in the dark, one hand still on the light switch, the other clenched without realizing. I didn't touch the phone, I didn't wake her, I didn't storm out. My body moved on autopilot, shutting off the lamp, pulling the blanket up to her shoulder, walking down the hallway like gravity had tripled. I sat on the edge of the guest bed for a long time, staring at the floorboards. My thoughts were loud, but my face was quiet. That's how it's always been with me. I'm not a screamer. I don't do scenes. I do silence, and this silence was the beginning of the end. If you're still listening and any of this hits a little too close to home, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. 97% of people just listen and scroll, but that one small click tells the team these stories matter. The strangest part? I didn't cry, not that night, not even the next morning. It was like my emotions respected the line she crossed and stayed back, letting logic take the wheel. I made coffee, folded laundry, kissed her forehead when she came into the kitchen yawning. She smiled, still half asleep, and said, "Thanks for last night. I needed that." I nodded. She didn't know it was the last time I'd kiss her with any warmth. She didn't know I'd already started erasing her from my future, one quiet thought at a time. She kissed my cheek at 7:18 the next morning, the way she always did when she was rushing. Hair still damp, blazer halfway on, keys dangling from her wrist. "Wish me luck," she said, grabbing her travel mug. "Lily's got me helping with that pitch today." She winked. "You know how she gets." I smiled and nodded like everything was fine, like I hadn't spent the last 8 hours memorizing the shape of her betrayal. When the door clicked shut, I poured out my coffee untouched and slipped on a pair of flats. 40 minutes later, I was in a booth at Pecan Lodge across from my cousin Jenna, who also happened to be one of the sharpest family attorneys in Dallas. We didn't talk much. She didn't need to ask why I was there. I just handed her a list, printed, bulleted, underlined, of dates, accounts, and passwords. She read it, blinked once, and slid a manila folder across the table. "Quiet filing. No contest. You sure you're ready?" "I'm past ready," I said. That afternoon, I called the bank, separated our savings, took screenshots of every transfer and stored them in a hidden drive labeled Garden Plans. I canceled the joint credit card, then requested an itemized log of all recent charges. There were more Lyft rides than I remembered, more dinners, more drinks, not in places I'd ever been. The forensic accountant Jenna recommended was calm and efficient. "It'll take a few weeks," he said, "but if there's a pattern, we'll find it." I already knew there was a pattern. Back at home, I played my role, set the table, roasted vegetables. We ate together like we used to, and she filled the air with stories. How Lily was hilarious, how they grabbed drinks after work, how the new client might actually sign this time. I just listened, smiled at the right parts, asked a question or two. She had no idea I knew Lily was actually Matt Hastings, her friend from the gym who happened to tag the same skyline view on his Instagram stories she'd shown me on hers. Her voice was steady. She really thought I was buying it, but the silence between us had changed. It wasn't a gap anymore. It was a container, one I was slowly filling with facts, with evidence, with the slow, deliberate dismantling of whatever fiction she thought she was still living. And she didn't see it coming, because I didn't give her the satisfaction of outrage. I gave her patience, the most dangerous kind. I didn't even have to try. She left the trail like breadcrumbs, scattered across every shared service we'd built our life on. It started with a Spotify queue I'd opened while making breakfast. Our joint account, she'd been playing a playlist called Late Nights, No Lights at 1:07 a.m. last Friday. I'd been at a conference in Phoenix. Alone, she told me she went to bed early migraine, but the playlist was suggestive, songs we'd never played together, the kind of slow, curated intimacy you don't build with just anyone. Unless Lily had suddenly developed a thing for the weekend and read wine ballads. Then came the Uber receipts. Again, not hidden, just forgotten. Her account was linked to our shared card. I downloaded the last 6 months of rides and highlighted every one tagged Matt's Place or ending at the same 3 rooftop bars in Deep Ellum. Every single ride synced perfectly with nights I'd been away. Denver, Houston, Phoenix, always the same pattern. 9:42 p.m. pickup, 1:03 a.m. drop-off, sometimes 2:17. It wasn't rage I felt, not even heartbreak. It was math. Cold, quiet numbers stacking up into something undeniable, and she'd used our shared Google Calendar, not for him, of course, but for girls' nights, client mixer, Lily's birthday. The timing lined up too neatly with Matt's Instagram posts. He wasn't subtle. Shots of cocktails, a flash of red nails on the rim of a glass I recognized, her nails. She had no idea how loud silence can be in a digital age. I opened our shared photo album. Nothing suspicious there. But the absence was suspicious. Her recent uploads had slowed to almost nothing. She'd gone from documenting every coffee run to barely posting anything. That told me she was hiding something or someone. I didn't need to see their photos. I already had the timeline. My lawyer, meanwhile, was a ghost in the background. Jenna filed quietly, no public alerts. She helped me update my will, rewrite the property trust, flag accounts she could no longer touch without setting off alerts. The digital equivalent of closing 1,000 doors she hadn't noticed were open. And still, every night, she came home smiling, kissed my cheek, told me stories, asked about my day like nothing had shifted, like I hadn't seen Matt tag a reservation at Monarch. The same night, she said she was running late, helping Lily with her resume. She thought deception was a performance. But I knew the truth didn't need a spotlight. It just needed time, patience, and data. And she'd left more than enough. She made a reservation at the same place we went to our first anniversary, told me to dress up, said she wanted a night just for us. When we got there, the hostess lit a candle between us like it was some sacred ritual. She wore the red wrap dress I bought her 2 years ago, the one she said made her feel like a woman who had her life together. She reached across the table mid-meal, fingers brushing mine, and said, "I love how steady you are. You're my anchor." Her voice trembled just enough to seem sincere, if I hadn't already known better. I smiled, let the silence hang. Let her think it was mutual. I paid the bill, thanked the waiter, walked her to the car like always. She leaned her head against my shoulder on the ride home, played that same soft playlist she always did, after wine and candlelight. I even caught her glancing at me a couple of times, like she was waiting for a cue, but I gave her nothing. At home, she kissed me on the cheek and said she was going to shower. "I feel gross," she laughed. "Too much garlic." The water started running. I sat on the edge of the bed. Her phone, face down, vibrated against the nightstand with that short, subtle buzz I'd come to recognize. I flipped it over without unlocking it, just to see. "Matt, I miss your perfume. It's still on my pillow." The time said 10:41 p.m. The anniversary card she gave me earlier sat unopened on my nightstand, still sealed, gold script. "To my rock." I opened the Notes app on my own phone, typed one line, no emotion, just a sentence I'd been refining for weeks without realizing. "Text him, you'll be single next month. I'll take care of the divorce papers." I didn't send it, not yet, just saved it. I wanted her to keep playing the part, to feel like she was still in control, still safe. When she came out in a robe, hair damp, cheeks pink, she smiled and crawled into bed like it was any other night. She laid a hand on my chest and whispered, "Tonight was perfect." I looked at the ceiling. In a way it was. It was the last night she'd get to lie to me without knowing I knew, and I wanted her to remember it, not as a fight, not as a confession, but as the night she played her role to perfection. While the curtain quietly lowered behind her, she left it charging on the kitchen counter, her iPad, open, no passcode. The same one I bought her when she said she wanted to start sketching again. I wasn't looking for anything. I was going to plug in my headphones, but the screen lit up when I picked it up. Messages, not even one-on-one. A group chat titled The Coven. I recognized a few names, co-workers, old sorority friends, the kind of women who toasted cheating with brunch mimosas and laughed about it in lowercase irony. One message thread caught my eye, maybe because it was so casual, so carelessly cruel. He'd never notice if I moved Matt in full time. Laughter emoji. Another reply, "Girl, stop, you said Matt's getting better than your husband." Her response, "Don't tempt me. Stability is boring when bourbon kisses like that exist." I didn't flinch, didn't scroll. I just put the iPad back exactly where it was and walked out to the porch. She was out there already, curled up in the wicker chair with a throw blanket and a glass of wine. Her second, maybe third. Sunset made her hair glow. She looked peaceful, like a woman who believed she'd gotten away with something. She didn't see me watching her from the kitchen window. She didn't sense a shift. She was humming to the playlist I knew was their playlist now, smiling at a private joke I hadn't earned. I stood behind the island counter, opened our message thread. No sarcasm, no curse words, no pleading, just one clean line. Text him you'll be single next month. I'll take care of the divorce papers. Sent. Across the room, her phone buzzed against the side table. She glanced at it, froze, then picked it up slowly. Her back straightened, the glass tilted slightly in her hand. Forgotten. I didn't say a word, just walked past her to the bedroom and shut the door. No fight, no yelling, no explanation, just a precision strike, one line that flipped the entire board. She stared at the screen like it had betrayed her, like the message had crawled out of the shadows instead of coming from the person sitting 20 feet away. Her wine glass was still in her hand, but her grip had shifted. More fingers, less confidence. I watched her blink twice, slow and mechanical, like her brain was buffering. Then came the whisper, barely audible. Wait, what? I didn't answer. I didn't look back. I stood, walked down the hall, and opened the office door. The printer warmed up with a hum, the tray sliding out like it had been waiting for this moment too. I pulled the documents from the drawer. Jenna had prepared them weeks ago. No contest, clean split, asset freeze initiated. All I had to do was sign and deliver. She patted in behind me a moment later, barefoot, face pale. Her wine was gone. Somewhere between the porch and the hallway, she'd set it down without realizing. Her mascara, once perfect, had smudged just enough to hint at tears that hadn't fallen yet. You're serious? Her voice cracked on the last word. This is real? I didn't nod, didn't sigh. I just laid the papers flat on the desk and clicked the pen once. Her eyes dropped to the header. She recognized her own name. The legal firm's seal, her signature block. Blank. Waiting. You're not even going to talk to me first? She whispered. You're not even... What is this? Still silent, I slid the pen across the desk toward her. That's when the panic kicked in. She reached for my wrist instead of the pen. Please, can we talk? You don't even know the whole story. Matt wasn't... I gently pulled my arm away, sat down in the desk chair, tilted it back, slowly. I know enough, I said. And I did. I knew that while she played house with me, she was sending midnight memories to another man. I knew that she mocked my steadiness in private, then toasted it in public for show. I knew that she assumed kindness meant blindness, that silence meant weakness. She picked up the pen, but her hand trembled too much to use it. She wasn't ready, but I was. I had been for weeks. She used to roll her eyes any time I brought up the prenup. You'll never need this, babe, she said when we first signed it. Barefoot on the balcony of our first apartment, champagne in hand, her laughter floating over the city like she was above consequence. But consequences don't care about charm, and signatures don't forget. The morning after she finally scribbled her name at the bottom of the divorce filing, she must have assumed we'd haggle, cry, maybe take some space and circle back. That's how her friends did it. Drama, detours, new vacations, old beds. She didn't expect a registered letter to arrive at her office. Jenna made sure the infidelity clause was enforced immediately. Account access revoked. Joint assets frozen pending review. The condo title cleanly in my name. I bought it through my trust months before we got married. She didn't care then. She just wanted to decorate. Now she cared. The car, she'd posted photos of it like it was hers, but it was leased through my LLC, a company she'd once called Your Little Tax Project. The company still owned the lease and the insurance and the right to pull it from the garage before noon. She came storming in that afternoon, holding the letter like it was a bomb. You can't do this. I was sitting on the couch with my laptop open, reviewing the expense logs with the accountant Jenna assigned, calm, focused. You're being vindictive, she said, voice sharp but breathless. This isn't you. I slid the folder across the table. Inside, the original prenup, notarized and indexed. Her signature sat at the bottom of page 6, right under the clause marked 3F, breach of fidelity. She grabbed the folder, flipped pages like speed could erase reality. Her finger landed on the clause. She blinked, read it again, then again. That clause was, this isn't fair. You can't seriously think this counts. Matt and I didn't. Jenna, sitting silently at the dining table, cleared her throat. Intent and act are both covered under subsection 2. You signed it, we have documentation. The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her shoulders folded in, like someone had turned the lights down inside her. She had no leverage now, no ground to stand on, no stories to spin, because what she'd dismissed as formality turned out to be the foundation of her fall. And all it took to activate it was a single message. 7 words. He's asleep, I miss you. She gambled on my silence. But I wrote the rules. 2 weeks passed like a slow exhale, paperwork filed. Locks changed, utilities split. Her presence shrank from the house like winter sun, still technically there, but faint, distant, barely warming the air. She started sleeping in the guest room, her footsteps softer, her questions fewer, no more morning kisses, no more shared coffee, just okay and sure and long stares across countertops we once designed together. On the 14th day, she asked for more time. Her voice was light, but the kind of light that cracks when you hold it wrong. "Can I just stay until the weekend?" she asked, twisting her fingers around the hem of her sweatshirt. "I need to sort out storage. The movers—" "You have 3 hours," I said. Calm, measured, not cruel, just finished. Her mouth opened, closed. Then she blinked quickly and nodded like someone taking bad news from a stranger. She texted someone, and 20 minutes later, a friend pulled up in an old SUV, back seats folded down, hatch already open. I watched from the kitchen window as they packed up her clothes, her desk lamp, 2 boxes labeled art stuff in Sharpie. She didn't take the framed photo of us in Portland, or the handmade mugs, or the books we used to read aloud on Sundays, just the essentials and the silence. She came in one last time, alone, holding a canvas tote, lips parted like she'd rehearsed a speech but forgot how it started. "Can we talk? One real conversation without lawyers or forms or clauses, please." I looked up from my chair. No anger, no triumph, just clarity. "You gambled on me never noticing," I said. "You lost." That was all. She stood there for a second, frozen, like maybe there was still something to be salvaged. Then her friend honked once, and she turned. The door clicked shut so softly it felt like an echo of the first time she lied. No slam, no fight. Just the weight of her exit bag, and a silence too heavy for one person to carry. It was one of those late summer Sundays where the sun stuck around a little longer than it should, and the air smelled like charcoal, sunscreen, and lawn chairs that had seen too many seasons. I hadn't planned on going, but when Lisa texted that morning, "You better show up or I'm telling everyone you cried watching Marley and Me again," I threw on jeans and a navy tee, grabbed a bottle of bourbon from the back shelf, and drove over. They'd invited her too, of course they had. These weren't people who picked sides, they picked potato salad and cornhole and just good vibes. But she didn't come. Maybe she thought it'd be awkward. Maybe she couldn't face the possibility that I might look okay. Turns out, I looked better than okay. Someone handed me a drink, another brought over ribs. The music was classic 90s, nostalgic without being clingy. I laughed without forcing it, talked about work, nothing deep, just surface ripples. And at some point, Lisa's brother, who never puts his phone away, snapped a picture when I wasn't looking. I was leaning back in a folding chair, sunglasses on, elbow propped on the armrest, a drink halfway to my lips. No smile, just stillness. A man no longer haunted. The photo went up that evening. Just a casual post. Great crowd today. Grateful for old friends. But I knew the moment she saw it, because by 9:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. "You look happy." 3 dots followed for a few seconds. Then nothing. I stared at the message for maybe a full minute. Not because it hurt, but because it didn't. There was no part of me that wanted to write back, no curiosity, no urge to explain or reopen whatever she thought still lived between us. I locked my phone, set it face down, poured myself a small glass from the same bottle I'd brought earlier, sat out on my own porch, crickets buzzing, sky cooling. And I finally let myself breathe the way I used to before I started bending to keep the peace. She thought my silence would be temporary, that eventually I'd come around, miss the routine, crave the version of her she thought I couldn't live without. But that photo told a different story, and for once she couldn't crop herself into the frame. It came a week after the photo, no punctuation in the notification preview, just a soft plea typed by someone who had finally realized the game was over. "Please, just one conversation." That was all. I saw it on my lock screen as I stood in line at the post office, mailing off the last of the change of address forms. It buzzed again 5 minutes later, a follow-up, shorter, even more fragile, but I didn't check, didn't swipe, didn't even let it pass the lock screen, because I knew what it would say. I knew the rhythm of her apologies, the measured breaths between the excuses, the little rewrites she gave herself to sleep at night. I'd heard them before, just never at this volume, never this late. She wasn't asking for forgiveness, she was asking for a loophole, and I don't do loopholes anymore. Instead, I let the message sit there, untouched, not as punishment, but as a line drawn in quiet ink. I could have opened it, could have replied, could have given her that final performance she wanted, the dramatic scene, the back and forth, the desperate negotiation of something already broken. But I chose stillness. That weekend, I unpacked the last box in my new place, a one-bedroom with sunlight that touched every wall by 9:00 a.m. Clean lines, no old shadows. I hung the framed photo of that barbecue on the hallway wall, not as a trophy, not to prove anything, but because it reminded me of what peace actually looked like. Not the forced smiles, not the edited moments, just me, present, unapologetic. She thought I was oblivious, that I wouldn't catch on, that I was the kind of steady you could lean on while reaching for someone else behind the curtain. But I wasn't steady because I was slow. I was steady because I was planning. The moment she underestimated me was the moment I started building my exit, quietly, deliberately, step by step. No screaming, no public scene, just motion disguised as stillness. And when it was time to go, I didn't need to explain. I just left and let the silence speak for itself.